I'm live. Excellent. Excellent. Good to be back. I was not on a hiatus, but it's been a few days. I'm glad to be here. I am working on a new drawing, and I thought since I'm sitting here, why not take the opportunity to go live, see if anyone shows up, chat with them if they do, and if not, people can pop in and see what I'm working on if they're interested. No. My very dear cat believes he should be given another can of wet food, and I have told him he is not going to get one, and it is causing some distress in this household. So he may act out. We'll see. He has been known to in the past. But this is the price we must pay for him not getting too fat, because I cannot love him and also overfeed him. But he does not understand this, so we struggle. That is good lemonade. Wonder what I am doing here with this. Went to an art gallery today. I was supposed to go to the art museum, but they're closed on Mondays and Tuesdays. It's so funny because this is the second time that this friend and I have made plans to go to the art museum to see an exhibit and found that they were not open. The last time it was too late. Like they closed rather early. And then today, they just weren't open. So we ended up going to a nearby gallery and checking out that, which was interesting. A lot of the art in there was kind of regionally themed. They had a lot of interesting landscapes and different mediums. Not a lot of drawings, though. So, but it was nice to kind of look at the different pieces they had in there and what kind of things were being sold. Or the place is also a rental gallery, so they sell and also rent out art pieces, which is interesting to me to know. I mean, I understand why someone might want to rent a piece as opposed to buying it, but it does seem a little odd to me. But hey, sometimes you just need some art for a space, I guess. And it's a cool idea. Realized recently that I do need to kind of do some work, get more of my work uploaded to my shop, and kind of make some new things with it. I don't really rep my shop a lot on this channel, but there is a link in the description to my Society 6 page where you can see see and purchase prints of my original work, as well as also get various items printed with my art. Although a lot of it isn't recent, it's still there's still some pretty cool stuff. Few shirts available. There's some tote bags, backpacks. I've had a few people buy backpacks, really liking the designs that are available. I think fanny packs. I even think I had some of those face masks during the COVID era, because those were kind of for me just personal. I had to wear a mask in my workplace at the time, so I uploaded a lot of my own designs just so I could have or wear my original art on my face, because since I had to, I thought I'd make a statement in some way. Went out the other night. Was it last night? Yeah, it was last night. I went out last night and had to just do a quick little run to the store, grocery shop, and get a couple of things. And, there were so many people wearing masks. It was a little unsettling. I don't know. It's very uncomfortable for me to see now, and the fact that there's just so many people who will continue doing this, I think, the rest of their life now, and it kind of makes me feel sad for them, especially like for people who are immunocompromised. It's just like, this is how you have been scared into a state now, and this is just how it's going to be your whole life. It's distressing to me. But, I can't tell these people what to do with their own bodies. They have to make that decision. But I do think it's a bit much, and there's such a lessening of your quality of life when you wear these things. And I always found it funny how people would talk about it. The more liberal folks that I encountered, which is, most of the people that I would encounter in the city, that just acted like it was no big deal, or people sharing infographics and memes saying that it's all in your head if you're having trouble understanding or even breathing with the mask on. But I found myself much more winded, and I could tell I wasn't getting as much oxygen. Especially at the time I was still working a physical job. This was before I became, I don't know what the term is, because I was disabled before, but I was more disabled. I was still, working on my feet, and I definitely noticed everything was a lot more difficult. But anyway, I didn't want to go off about that subject, but I did I did bring up the masks that I made. It was mostly for selfish reasons, although I did have someone, or maybe a couple people actually, buy some masks that I designed. So, if you are a mask cuck out there, they're still available in my shop. But I do really need to do more with my art. I have so many original pieces sitting that it would be good to, I don't know, try to get them shown. Of course, I could probably it might be good to do a just private showing here. I had a neighbor who did that in the building. He put up flyers in the building and put in the community tab, and I actually bought some of his art. I bought 4 pieces. Oh, hey everybody, got a few viewers here. Seth, loyal Seth, good to see you, my dear. Donald, hi. Yeah, it is dehumanizing. It's just, it's not just the fact of it being dehumanizing. It's not just the simple wearing of the mask, which I agree, it is dehumanizing. It definitely feels like another degree of separation and kind of turns people into an untouchable almost, where you even want to kind of keep your distance from them lest they, perish from being exposed to you. But also just the way it's talked about and thought about. I mean, it's not rational. It doesn't do anything. That I think that's the thing that really just, to me, it doesn't do anything. For most, I understand. I do understand if you are sick, if a person is sick, them wearing it, I understand that. Now that can be helpful. But to avoid getting sick, it's not really going to help you. Oh, okay. Let's see. This is an interesting question, and welcome to the chat. You always have something interesting to contribute. What do I think of the popularity of true crime? Do I watch and listen to it? No, I'm not really a big fan, to be honest. But this is a good topic. Have I ever been absorbed by a particular crime or trial? Well, let me think. I'm sure I have. I mean, crime does fascinate people. I think that's human nature for it to fascinate people. Okay, I'll tell you all about a story that I encountered once that really gave me pause. A crime that happened, it was in Ireland. And it was this man he had murdered his wife. And it was such a bizarre story and it spooked me. And it spooked me because it had to do with fairies. So that was his defense, was that he believed that she had been swapped by the fairies. And there actually was a fairy mound near where they lived that she had been visiting. and she had come back. Like, this had been an ongoing issue in the community, and a lot of people actually testified that they believed his wife was a changeling or something like that. This happened in the 1800s. And I think he had a like priest even come to like do an exorcism of her, and they thought it worked for a while, but then she started behaving like in the same way. And I don't know if you all, it's interesting because I was talking with my friend last week about fairies and elemental spirits. Now, I definitely believe in them. I've had encounters myself, so this was spooky to me. And I do believe, I think it's rare, but I do believe in changelings as well. I do believe that for certain races of fae, their offspring are very weak. And they often will, or not often, but it is known that they would come and steal a human child and replace their own child with it. This is like, common like folklore in many different cultures, but there's this concept of the changeling. But anyway, this man's wife was acting in a way that was like, she seemed demonically possessed. Like, it wasn't his wife. He felt very strongly that this was not his wife. Other people in the community saw this drastic change in her. Her behavior was disturbing, quite frankly. So a priest came and like performed some kind of exorcism, right? And things seemed to be okay, but then he ended up, this man ended up killing his wife, okay? And I don't remember exactly how. He killed her, and he brought her body to the fairy mound in order to like get his wife back, because the belief is what you would do to get your child back or to get somebody back who had been changed. Like with the changeling, they do a swap. The belief was if you like would put the fairy child or fairy person at risk of death, like they would hold these children up to the flames, they would, this was the belief. If you attempted like, or were going to kill this person, that the belief was that the fairies would swap the person out. But anyway, he like killed her, took her body up to the fairy mound that was on their property, and obviously nothing happened. So he was put on trial, and he was actually, I think from what I understand, he was acquitted. Like, he didn't serve any time for this murder, but and I don't know what exactly happened with this, but it definitely was one of those stories that was like what happened here? Like, I have no doubt something went on. I have no doubt that he believed, just from the way this tale was concocted and from the witnesses that corroborated his story, and just what the record of what had been going on leading up to the story. I have no doubt that he believed that the fairies had done something with his wife. But it's one of those stories that's like, yikes. It definitely freaked me out. But I'm saying, if you think somebody's been swapped out by fairies, I don't recommend the trial by death. Because I don't think, if you kill one of theirs, they're definitely not bringing yours back to the human realm. But yeah, they can be frightening. They can be very scary creatures to encounter. I did a video years ago on this channel called Stop Objectifying Fairies. I don't know if I have it up anymore. It's probably privated. But I might still have it up. But it was fairies are not these lighthearted little creatures that a lot of people think they are. They can be very frightening, and they have a lot of power, and they're just not of this realm, but they can come into it. So yeah, but there is this belief that they say their children are very weak, like they're born old and they get younger. So the story of like Merlin, the magician, that there's belief that he was part fae because he seemed to get younger as he got older. And who knows? But I think fairy lore and these kind of stories about them, these are interesting. And for people who believe in them, like, and in many parts of Ireland still, like, they don't mess with certain areas. Like, I've read accounts and stories where people would like protest the building of roads in certain areas. Like, there was a big to-do about putting a highway, or I don't know if it was a highway, but it was like a big roadway that would be desecrating a fairy area, like a fairy mound, and people were really against it. And in places where that stuff has happened, where they have desecrated those areas, like there's a lot more accidents there. People, bad things happen there. We'll just say that. Like, so there's certain areas that should not be touched. And if they believe in them very strongly, that there has to be some sort of respect for their spaces. And I think these areas are just portals where they come into our realm. But of course, if that gets desecrated, that makes their existence more difficult. And of course, they're going to retaliate. What can you do? But yeah, I'm not a big fan of true crime. Like, I know some people really get into it, but it's not really my thing. I guess that's the only like real crime story that I ever got like sucked into and fascinated by a bit. I remember when I did a video about Eileen Wuornos years ago, people were like contacting me like, "Oh, are you interested in serial killers?" And I was like, "No, I'm just interested in Eileen Wuornos." And you know what? I ran into a neighbor. I got into the elevator the other day, and there's this young woman, and she had an Eileen Wuornos pin, and I was like, "Oh, Eileen Wuornos." Love her. Yeah, that video was great. I titled it something like Eileen Wuornos, feminist. Wait, now what was it? American folk hero and feminist icon. And like so many people lost the plot over that. Like they got, I don't know what it is, but I got people in their feelings about that. People were losing it. That was one of my more successful trollings. But there was even one guy who like uploaded a bunch of videos, like a documentary, but it was at the time on YouTube where you could only upload 15-minute videos. So he uploaded like 5 or 6 videos of this documentary, and he gave it the same title as my video, just to like
I don't know. He thought he was doing something. He was like, I'm going to get that bitch for what she did. So yeah, I guess there's some fascination with like Eileen Wuornos. There's this British historian that does a lot of documentaries. Her name's Lucy Worsley, and she has a podcast, I think, called Women Who Kill. And I've listened to a few of those, but again, I'm just not that into true crime. It's disturbing to me. My mom's into it though. She reads like books about it, and she actually had a run in with the Green River Killer when she lived in Washington in the 80s before I was born. This like strange man had like knocked on her door, and she had opened it. Her boyfriend at the time though was like in the apartment, and he was like, trying to get her to like party with him. I don't know, but she ended up giving a testimony or like helping police with that. She basically had this weird feeling. She's also an empath, so she had this weird feeling, and she kind of like just kind of shooed him away. But yeah, she ended up telling me later that when she was in prison, because my mom is just, she's done some things in her life, but she had actually given information about him to help kind of, they were trying to identify him at the time, and they had some suspects. So she helped basically pointed at some pictures that they had and confirmed that it was the same guy that she had encountered. So she has a bit of a fascination with this stuff, but for me, no, I think crime is unpleasant. I do like, though, of course, I think like a lot of people, I enjoy, like I love the Sopranos series, and also like Peaky Blinders. So, I mean, those are about, they're dramas and like mob films and that kind of thing. Like, I guess there's some fascination there with that kind of thing. Organized crime. But yeah, it's not really totally, I've never been like that engrossed in it, and I definitely don't like listen to any podcasts about it other than like that Women Who Kill, but that was because of Lucy Worsley, because I like her. Her documentaries, every one of them I've watched, I've been fascinated by. Donald said, sorry, Donald, you said this a while ago, the irrationality and sadism of it bothered me a lot too. Yeah. Yeah, I would just like, I couldn't believe how people were acting, and I still to this day, like, there's certain people where I'm just like, never forget, never forget how you acted, the horrible things you said about other people, the dehumanizing ways that you spoke about people who didn't agree with you when they were right. Anyway, fairies are scary to me. Yeah, me too. Why chance building a road there? Yeah, plenty of other places for highways. I mean, I don't know. People often want to do what seems easiest, like it was the easiest route. But I wouldn't, I wouldn't mess around. It's just not something to mess around with. I feel I would not want to offend their grounds, If I stumble into them, like, that happens, but I'm not, one for, offending them in any way, because they just can do things I can't do. Madam saying Eileen was taking the trash out. It's odd. We live in a time where people have favorite serial killers. Oh, yeah, I know. I know. But if I were to have one, she's mine. I just don't think that she was a serial killer. I would call her a spree killer. There's a distinction between like a serial killer and a spree killer, and it's kind of just the psychology. They wanted to make her a serial killer so bad, but I think the way she killed was more in line with a spree killing. It's not as if she was like deliberately targeting, and it's not as if not every guy that picked her up got killed, you know what I'm saying? Like, I also think she had like complex PTSD from her like experiences, which made her pretty trigger happy. So yeah, I just think she's more of a spree killer than a serial killer. Serial killers have a very like, I don't know, it's like a fetishistic kind of approach. I wonder, like, I know there are females who kill, but like, I don't know. Serial killers. It's disturbing though to know that there are just like people out there like that are just killing, I don't know. I don't really like to think about it too much. It kind of upsets me, to be honest. It's kind of unsettling. I don't know how like people just sit and like listen to that stuff all day. It's very dark and disturbing. And I guess it gives them a thrill, kind of excites them. But for me, yeah, I'm not thrilled by it. Why, Seth says, why build a highway over a portal to another dimension? I guess, it depends on where you're trying to go. But yeah, couldn't be me. Could not be me. But I'm sure they have in many places, I'm sure there's many places that were portals that have been desecrated, and I'm sure that those places have increased amounts of or incidences of accidents and death, I would assume. I mean, you just have to think about like how many highways and roads and just all kinds of things that have been developed here in the US. But the thing about Ireland, I mean, it's a small country, and the people have a pretty strong belief in fairies, like even in the modern day. Like, I think that's something I appreciate about them. Like, they've maintained a lot of their beliefs and superstitions and haven't been kind of sucked into the corruption of the total materialist worldview. I watched a really interesting documentary that was about fairies, and it actually a lot of it took place in Iceland because I guess they have pretty strong beliefs in these kind of beings there as well. There we go. Oh yeah, I did read about that. I didn't like get too into it because again, I don't explore this. I don't like this kind of stuff. I don't like to read about it or explore it, but I did see something about that. Or like there was a nurse recently that was killing babies, I believe. Like, so yeah, it's, oh God, how, like, that's awful. It's just awful to think about. Like, it's bad enough going into, like, you already have enough, like, fear about going into, like, a hospital or, you know, and just the shit they feed you, pardon my language, but, like, what else can I call it? You know, the food is so disgusting and, like, so many things are out of your control, and then just to know that there's, like, and then, you know, a lot of sadists, you know, are attracted to these fields. Like, it's very, it's unsettling. It's unsettling when, like, stuff like that comes out. It's like, as I've definitely had experiences where I've been accessing quote unquote medical care and had the feeling like, oh, I think that person enjoyed hurting me there. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, even if it was just mild, or I think that person did that on purpose. And I don't want to, like, I don't think that all the time if somebody, like, misses a vein or something, you know, because it's, but there's just sometimes you get, like, a weird feeling, you know, like, did they do that on purpose? Yikes, what a world we live in. Okay, let's somebody in the chat please drop a more a more light subject matter, please. Because my mind is starting to get all dark. Oh my, oh my, oh my. Just trying to see if I can, like, dredge up anything, but I'm kind of like, why, why? Am I afraid of heights? Again, more fearful topics. I can be afraid of heights. I'm not, like, always, but sometimes it just, like, hits you, you know, and then you're like, yeah. I don't know. I do like penthouses. But I don't know, like, could I live on top of the top floor of the New World Trade Center? Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I could. I think that might be too high, you know? My last building, I was on the top floor, which was, like, the 9th floor. So that was nice, but I don't know. I don't think I could. I do like a penthouse, but I do think it's just, yeah, if it's that high, I'm not going to enjoy it. I don't know. The views might be spectacular. I couldn't say. I haven't attempted to live in one. I don't know if I'm going to have the opportunity to in life. We'll see what God has in store for me. Maybe I would enjoy it, and I mean, it depends. Like, obviously, it really would depend. I probably would enjoy it, actually. Yeah, now that I think about it. If there was like a deck or something, I probably wouldn't want to go out there. But if I was just like on the top floor and had like these nice panoramic views, that would be great. I don't think I'd like want to go outside, at that height. Does that make sense? Yeah, I don't think that would be nice. But imagining just like living up there, I'm sure it'd be great. I'll have to look at what they've got in that penthouse and get back to you. Oh, Seth is asking me about Thanksgiving. Yeah, I'm going to have a couple friends over for Thanksgiving. I'll be hosting just a small meal here in my apartment. I bought a ham, and we're going to have ham and mashed potatoes and green bean casserole. And I also got a pie, a pumpkin pie. So, we will have, I think, a nice little meal. It won't be anything too extravagant. A nice little Friendsgiving. Which suits me fine this year. And you know what? My neighbor told me she was doing something tomorrow. I haven't checked in with her. I better text her tonight to see if she still is doing that. She said she was going to have a small gathering, like in honor of Thanksgiving tomorrow night. So she's fun. So, and she has an interesting group of friends. So I did also on Sunday, my church, we had a nice Thanksgiving meal together, and that was nice. We had turkey and, mashed potatoes and sweet potatoes, and we had corn and nice dinner roll and what else? I feel like I'm missing something. Mashed potatoes and gravy, cranberry sauce, and yeah, we had it was a nice meal, and then pumpkin pie at the end too. And I let my little crush, I was like, oh, can you get me a piece of pie? And he did. I was like, that's right. My partner's mom is here from Alabama. We just went out for a fancy steak dinner. Nice. Today I had the day off, so I went to a prayer group at church in the morning, and then I after that I went and had lunch with a friend, and then like I said, we went to the museum, which was closed, and then we ended up going to like an art gallery, and then we ended up kind of walking around downtown, and we ended up going to the mall and going into some of the luxury brand stores. We went to like Yves Saint Laurent and Tory Burch and kind of looked at the merchandise and chatted with the sales folk. Didn't end up getting anything, although there was this one bag at the Tory Burch store that I was like, and it was like 30% off, but I can't be dropping like that much money on a bag. It was like a nice brown crossbody bag. It was probably about this big. So it would have been like a decent bag to have, but I'm not at that level yet where I feel comfortable with that. I do have a couple of I have like a Coach wristlet and like a Coach bag, like a handbag that's beige. But I got that. The wristlet was a gift, and then the beige Coach bag I actually got at a Goodwill. That was a good find, and like I looked it up, and it was decent price. It's in nice condition, so I lucked out scoring that. But yeah, I feel uncomfortable just dropping that much money on bags at this point. Hopefully in the future, I will be in a financial position to feel comfortable doing that. But to me, it's just not a wise investment. And I don't really use bags that often. Although this bag, it looked like one I would be comfortable using more regularly. It looked like a bag that was more just the size and the way it would be worn on me. I felt like it would be a good bag, but I really enjoyed the design of the Tory Burch store. It was very cute. Oh, and I tried this perfume there. Got a little bit of it on me. Like I sprayed one of those, they have those, what the word is escaping me, but they're like the little papers that you spray the perfume on, so you can kind of like get a more, so you can kind of sample the scent, get an idea of the scent, how it ages, that kind of thing. I think it was called Electric Sky or something like that. Gorgeous. So anyway, as I was spraying it, some of it like leaked onto me. So I just like wiped it on my wrist here, and I still smell it, and it still smells good on me. So I'm glad we went in there. I'd never really been into Tory Burch before. We did not go to the Louis Vuitton store because I don't really like anything that they have. Like none of it was like Yves Saint Laurent. I like everything in there. Period. Like it's just classy, sophisticated, black, white, burgundy, very, very bougie. But obviously I didn't like everything. I did not steal the perfume. No, I didn't steal it. It leaked out, and I just put it on me, which is good because now I know that I can wear it, because, some perfumes, depending on your body chemistry, like they don't last. But that was how many hours ago? Probably like 5 at this point, and the scent is still there. It's still present. So good, the perfume, I looked it up when I got home because I didn't really ask at the time. I wasn't gonna buy anything anyway, I wasn't planning to go, out shopping anyway today. So it's just kind of what ended up happening because of us kind of not knowing that the museum would not be open. So I didn't really budget to spend any money like that. I did budget to spend some, and it's the holidays approaching. I need to think more carefully about, help, what I'm doing for others and that kind of thing. But yeah, that perfume was nice. I would like a bottle of it, not gonna lie. I may acquire it because I do like perfume. I do like perfume a lot. Anyway, Amy is here. Nice to see you, Amy. Oh, Seth, I'm sorry I missed this. I used to work in a pretty tall building and it would sway in the wind. And whenever we had a small earthquake, I hated it. Yeah, okay, I wouldn't like that. If that's something I have to deal with, I don't think I would like that. I have experienced that too when I was in Big Pink. It's the tallest building in Portland. Went to the top to the restaurant up there years ago at this point. Like I was like, oh yeah, let's go up. I had a friend visiting, and then when we got to the top, like I felt really disoriented, and I think it was like the kind of swaying that you're describing. Like I didn't like it. So yeah, I can totally see that. Totally see that. Ooh. Yeah, I would not like that. If that's the case with that penthouse suite at the top of the New World Trade, I think I'll pass. Because that would not be pleasant to deal with. Oh my goodness. It was really nice out today, I have to say. I thought it would be a lot colder and wetter than it was. And it was very bright and sunny and kind of warm. It was in the upper 50s. I definitely was well dressed. I had like my coat, my long coat, and my hat, and I had on gloves and a scarf, and I found I didn't need to like keep my jacket buttoned, and I got to take my gloves off, so it was nice. I still had them on me, and I wore my like really big shades as well. I've got these really massive shades I got recently. They're black and they're square and they're really big. Like they cover up most of my face. They're kind of like goggles almost, and they cover up this side as well. I have to say, like, they're the best working pair of sunglasses I've ever had. I don't get any sun interference with them, so I like them for that reason. Most of my other sunglasses, like, they'll do, but these are the first ones that totally prevent any sun from messing with my eyes. So I am quite appreciative of them. Quite appreciative of them. But yeah, I'll have to see about that Tory Burch perfume. Definitely will have to see about it. It was nice. It still is nice hours later, smelling it on myself. And that nice bag. And you know what? They had a really cute, like thick woolen dress there that had like a white Peter Pan. It was a like black dress with short sleeves, and it had like a white Peter Pan collar. I was kind of like, about, but you know, I'm sure it was on sale for their holiday sale, but I just, again, your girl's on a budget. Because let me tell you, paying for this place ain't cheap, and you know, the upkeep of it, everything else, you know, I'm sure things will get better with time, but for now, I need to be mindful of my budget, and it's not a bad habit to be in, you know. I've been working on building my credit this year, and even more than I had been. I mean, but this year it's been a lot of growth with my credit. I've been able to like raise it quite a bit, and that's been really exciting for me. So, but it's been a hard time for me for a long time financially, and just trying to get that part of my life together more. And it takes time, and it's nice to know, like, when I get to a certain level, the sort of things that I will be able to enjoy. And I already have, the thing is, I have plenty of perfume. I have plenty of, clothing. I have bags if I need. Like, I don't need any of this stuff. You know what I mean? Like, it's nice. It's nice to look at and think about, but my needs are met. Everything I need, I have. I mean, I could acquire more things, and I no doubt will, because that's part of living in a consumer society. But I have to be kind of practical and think that way, because investing, where you spend your money is an investment, and there's, I think, right now better places to invest it, better things to do with it than to buy myself things I don't need. Credit is important. It's never too late. Right, I know. It is important. Like, it held me back in a lot of ways for many years. I was afraid to, like, well, I don't even want to get into that, but it kept me in situations I didn't want to be in because I had bad credit. Like living places I didn't want to live, living with people I didn't want to live with, just because I knew that I couldn't, like, easily get out with the credit I had. Couldn't get approved for like a new place on my own because of the credit I have, even though I could like technically pay for things. Credit is very important, and if you stick with it, you can get it up. Mine has been doing wonderful things this year, I have to say. Like, it has been pleasing to me to see the growth of my credit score, and to just think, I'm doing that. This is something I'm doing for myself. This is something I'm doing for my future. Bye, Seth. I probably missed you. Sorry. Is this current job the favorite that you've had thus far? Definitely not. Definitely not. My favorite job that I ever had, was when I worked for Coffee People. When I worked for Coffee People at the Portland airport, I just had so much fun at that job. And I was young, and like my health was good. So I think that contributed obviously to the enjoyment of it. But I made pretty good money because I worked full time. All right. So that, like, you have to figure, I was working full time. And at the time, like, Portland was so cheap. Like, when I moved here, I was shocked how cheap it was. So I was working full time. making like not the best wage, but it was above minimum wage at the time. And then the tips I made. So the tips weren't phenomenal, but they, for a barista gig, like at that level, they weren't bad. And I was just, I always had enough money like to spend, I would say, like for whatever like little purchase I had just for my tips. And then like when I would get actually paid, like my actual paycheck, like that would just go to my expenses. So I never had to like, there was like this separation between the two, that was nice. And tips were decent. And I also got to like, I would work partially at like a kiosk with a bunch of people for part of the week. And then the other part, I like worked alone at a kiosk and made pretty decent tips there. So the ones I made there, I didn't have to split, and I made pretty much the same amount regardless. When I worked at the one up by myself, I might make like $1 or $2 more. I got to like serve a lot of celebrities working there, coming through the airport, regulars, pilots. I loved when like you'd get like a Japanese businessman, because they had these like, one guy would come up and like put in an order for the whole group. So you'd have like a guy come up and like just hand you the card and say 14 small mochas. And you'd be like scrambling to like get this one order with 14 drinks in it out. It was fun. I don't know. It was fun. I like met Elvis Costello, and I'm a fan. Who was it? Candace Bergman, Courtney Taylor. I served him a couple of times. I'm sure I'm missing other people, but it's fun. And then the people I worked with were fun. There were a lot of like goths that worked there. So there was, I fit in with them, and we kind of like would swap CDs, and like we could play our own music. It was chill. It was kind of like hippie. The pastries were like by Marcy Baking, which is like excellent. So I'd be eating, decent. And like, at that time too, like I when I moved to Portland and started working there, I think just I did get sick briefly. I got sick. I had to like go on this like extreme diet for like a month and a half, just to like clear up kind of the conditions I was having. So I did that, recovered, but that diet, like on top of like the amount I was working, I dropped like so much weight. So you have to think, I was like 20 years old, thin for the first time in my life, but not. So I was feeling my hair, like I was looking good. I was making decent money. I was on my own, kind of like doing it, looking cute. It's just a nice time in my life, where I was independent for the first time and kind of like doing all right and having fun. Like I had fun at that job. Like every day was fun and exciting, and the energy of it. Like no other barista job I've had has been comparable to that. Although I do enjoy, or I did, can't do it anymore physically, but I did enjoy working in that field just because it's fun. Like I love chatting with people. I love people. Like, really, I love making people smile. I like making people's day. I like doing things for people that uplift them in some way. So, love that career field. But let me tell you, it's just kind of you can only do it for so long because it just is not, unless you're in certain, like, it depends, like, but it's not sustainable forever anyway. So, yeah, I'd say that was my favorite job. I really had a good time working there while it lasted. The company ended up getting purchased by, the company, Coffee People, had been purchased by a company a few years prior called Dietrich Coffee, and they decided to become a wholesale retailer and to close the shops that they actually had open, which were Coffee People and like another small chain in another state. So it was unfortunate. But at the airport, the lease, they couldn't actually get rid of the lease. So there was this small business that ran some of the other food shops in the airport that took it over, called Stephanie Inc. And I worked for them for a while, but yeah, it wasn't like so much her I didn't like, although people like kind of there was a lot of people didn't care for it, but she loved me. I mean, she was upset when I quit, honestly, like the owner of the business, because there was this one time, like, she called the store and I was like by myself, and then I had like a bunch, like, I was like, okay, yeah, oh, I'm sorry, I have a customer, like, I'll be right with you. And then it was like several minutes, like, where I had all these customers come through all of a sudden, and I was by myself, so I had to take care of them. But anyway, like, I ran back to the phone and I was like, oh, Stephanie, I'm so sorry. And she's like, no, Terri, you've just really impressed me, because the customer is always first. So after that point, like, I started getting like favors, but the guy who was like directly managing me was just like, my direct manager was just, I couldn't deal with him. He also liked me a lot. I mean, I've only had a couple, I think I've had like one or two managers like that haven't liked me. Most of the time they do, because obviously I've got a really strong work ethic, and positive attitude, and I bring a lot to any team that I work for. But yeah, I could not deal with him. He just like drove me nuts and grossed me out so much, this guy, like. And I think the final straw was like, he went on break and gave me like the keys to the safe and said, Terri's in charge. And I was like, now there was somebody else working there who was above me, technically, like her position was above me. And the fact that he did that was like awkward. Now, he had no business leaving the keys to her, because that bitch was stealing tips, and I done caught her. Okay, we done caught her. And so, like, it wasn't just me, but like I was comparing tips with and you know what, it wasn't the first time somebody reported she was stealing tips, but okay. This is what she was doing. There were when this takeover happened, there were people who worked at other Coffee People locations that ended up coming to the airport to work at these locations that they were closed, because not everybody who worked at the airport wanted to stay and work for this new company. And a lot of them went out to, like, get jobs at Starbucks, I was offered, or I was called by a couple of Starbucks at the time, but I didn't want to work there at the time. So I don't know, I'm just telling you all this like old gossip. So yeah, this girl, this bitch, I hated her. Like, God forgive me, I did. I did. But she was horrible. She just had an unpleasant personality, and she just was not somebody who I would have ever vibed with ever, because like she was the kind of person who purchased like tabloid magazines. She's the kind of person who like she actually had the audacity to open up, like I went to like relieve her once on a break when she was working on a solo kiosk. So I went to relieve her on her break, and she just hung around while she was on break with the audacity to open up this tabloid magazine and start showing me pictures of celebrities on vacation, not looking good, and then try to talk to me about them, and like, had they had like plastic surgery done. And I was like, who the hell do you think you're talking to right now? Like, I was just so offended because I was just like, ugh. Anyway, she was drama, okay? She was nasty, stinky drama too. Like, and she had this like horrible drama. Like, and I feel bad for her. She was young and dumb and not very attractive as a woman. Like she just didn't have, I don't know, like she didn't have any kind of like idea of like cultivating her feminine wiles. But yeah, she was young. She wasn't that attractive. She was married though, okay? And she read tabloids, okay? So like not feminine at all. And her husband ends up cheating on her, like, and running off with like he cheated on her with her best friend and ran off with the best friend on Valentine's Day. Okay, this girl's life was tragic. All right, so you can imagine the drama she was spilling at work. Like, and then she was stealing tips. I got to get back to the tip stealing. Okay, so like I was comparing tips at the end of the day. I was like, oh, nice, yeah, we did okay today. Like with a girl, we both came in for our shift at 6 o'clock, me and this girl. All right, and she had been somebody who did not work at the airport previously. All right, she had been working at a Coffee People, like in another location that made like way more tips. So, and she also, this woman that I was comparing tips with at the end of the day was also a young mother. All right, so she had like a child at home. And she was like, I think I made like, it was like something like $23 in my little bag. And she was like, yeah, she's like, I've only got it was like $12 or $13. Like it was like significantly less than what I had in my bag. And we had been working the same hours. And that day, Tiffany had been doing, oh, I said her name. I should not have said her name. I'm so sorry. You didn't hear it. Okay. Me and one of the guys at work used to call her P-Rat behind her back. Okay. Like, so let's just say P-Rat. Nobody liked her. Okay. Nobody liked her. And I'm P-Rat, yeah, like had done the tips that day. She had been doing the tips that day all day. Like she had just done it each time. So like I was like, I was like, no, if you're working at this location, it was like the main location, you should be bringing like $22 to $25 a day. It was pretty average for your tips. It's not a lot, okay, but it's at the end of the week, that's like $100, okay. So if I was taking home like, I usually would end up like taking home like $120 a week, just in the tips that I made there. So it was, decent. But like if I had worked, but I also had worked at the solo kiosks on my own where I didn't have to split tips a couple times a week. So that kind of helped make up for it. But this girl, this young woman, who I had compared with, so like we both looked at each other and like, we went and informed the management that there was a discrepancy between our tips, even though we both had like started at the same time and worked. We both worked 6 to 2 that day. The audacity. So anyway, she had a higher position than me because I was just like, I don't know. I was like second tier. She was third tier. And then it got on to like supervisor management positions. So she was like in between. Anyway, she was the next. She had more responsibility than me, is what I'm saying. Like, so not only was she stealing tips, she was stealing tips as somebody in a supervisory position. So anyway, she wasn't allowed to do tips anymore after that. Like the manager, like I said, he left the keys with the like store manager left the keys with me, and I was like, and I actually did have to go into the safe and get money for people that day, and I was like, obviously I'm a trustworthy person, obviously I'm a person of high ethics. I would not do anything like that. I would never mess with the money like that. But I shouldn't have been put in that position. And then that was kind of like the tipping point with that job where I was like, yeah, I need to go. Management here is effed. Like, I am not paid for this. Basically, I'm not paid for this. I know they want to make me like, they want to put me in that position, but like, I was like irritated by that. Like, instead of like demoting or firing the woman who stole tips, had been, accused of stealing tips multiple times. Because that wasn't the first time I found out that like there was a woman who worked before at one of the solo kiosks. Like she was at the like main solo kiosk and like at the ACON course that made like, that was where buku money was made. Okay. Like, I only got to work there a few times, but like the tips there were fabulous. If you're working there, you're making decent money. But the woman who worked there before was a woman that was middle-aged. Like she worked there Monday through Friday, and then PRAT would work there on the weekends. And sometimes I would go, and relieve them when I would be working, I would be sent there. So that woman ended up quitting, going into a different field entirely. But I found out after kind of talking to some other people about this, that this woman, the woman who had worked at the concourse before, who was middle-aged, had reported that she'd stolen her tips as well. Like, so you're messing with the money of a young mother, and you're messing with the money of a middle-aged woman who works in food service. and you read tabloid magazines. Hell no. Hell no. Nope. Okay, yeah, y'all have been reacting. I respond here. Tabloid girl. Yeah, I know. I can't. I don't like that. I don't like that kind of thing. I don't like that kind of culture. I don't like sitting around and talking about what the celebrities are doing, or oh, look at her breasts. I would have snatched her wig. How revolting. It was revolting. She was revolting. I don't know how to describe her. She like just was a big stink. I don't know how else to say. I mean, I'm sure she was a miserable person. Am I still Facebook friends with her? I was never Facebook friends with her. I think this was the days, I don't even think I was on Facebook these days. Like this was the days of MySpace. I know maybe Facebook was around. I might have been on it, but I remember her having a conversation with another coworker. Like she had sent him a friend request on some social media site and he didn't add her. And she actually like came up to him at work and like asked him about it. Like, why didn't you add me back? And he's like, it's nothing personal. I just, I don't add people from work unless I know them personal, like on a personal level. I'm just not comfortable. Like he was lying. He just didn't want to be friends with her. I worked with some cool people there though. Like I ended up like getting switched to like closing shifts through part of it. And I ended up like closing for a while with this guy who was like a white Rasta. He was like 7 feet tall. He wasn't 7 feet tall, but he was like very tall. Like, and he had like very long red, like ginger dreads. And I made him listen to Depeche Mode like hella. And then like towards the end of like my time there when I was getting ready to quit, he he found out that I actually like reggae music. He's like, "Oh, you like Steel Pulse?" I was like, "What?" He's like, and then he actually on my last day he gave me a Temptations record. Like it was nice. He was kind of a nice guy. He was like a well digger. So there were I liked a lot of my coworkers, but P Rat was messed up. Amy thinks I'm ethical too. I mean, like, I wouldn't steal from my employer, or my coworkers. Like, why would you do that? Like, why? Like, some people just, oh, I tell you, the Schadenfreude that a lot of us had when we found out about her husband, like running off with her best friend on Valentine's Day, we were just kind of like, couldn't have happened to a nicer person. Could not have happened to a more pleasant person. She ended up taking him back too. All right, y'all, I didn't even get to that. She took that MFer back. They did not have kids. There was no reason to take him back. But she took him back. M thinks that P Rat needs a true crime episode. I ran into her like years later, like a couple of years later. She was working at actually working at a restaurant near where I ended up working. So like I ended up working at another coffee shop. I ended up working at a coffee shop downtown. That was like a block from the restaurant she worked at. And like we didn't say anything to each other like when I ran into her. Like I've had like drama with coworkers before. Like the first job I got when I moved to Portland was this horrible like fast food job. And I had this coworker who I had serious beef with, but like we squelched it and we ended up like figuring out how to get along. And you know, in retrospect, I've got nothing but like respect for that woman now, because she kind of like helped me learn how to be a better like worker just from that drama that we had. Like she definitely taught me things. But P-Rat, no, I did not. I didn't say hi to her. She did not say hi to me. She's just so disgusting. Like, I hope things have worked out for her. But yeah, at the time, like, I didn't like her. Nobody liked her. We were all laughing at her and, you know, enjoying her misery to a certain degree, like, or reveling in her misery. She's just such a nasty person, like just unpleasant. And it's, you know, it's not as if she was like she was of average intelligence. It was just like, because, you know, I never had been like really exposed to anyone like her really before. And like in my household growing up, like tabloids and like celebrity gossip was like the ultimate sin. You know, my dad like really was like, only trashy people read those kind of magazines. Like he instilled that in me. Like, and to this day, I feel that way. Like, you know, it's just only it's lowest common denominator sort of like entertainment, you know. I'd never, and also I think being from Alaska too, like I was very new to this region. I wasn't familiar with the way the locals were, a lot of them, because, you know, Portland has this really interesting reputation around the country. But I have to tell you, like, a lot of the people from here are, I don't know. They're not the sophisticated liberals that people think they are. You know, a lot of people from this region are very backward. I remember, yeah, too, working that job that, you know, the favorite job I've ever had. Working that job, I learned a lot just about the culture here in Portland too, because it was such a interesting mix of people. And I learned, you know, that was the first time I was exposed to how much Portlanders hate Californians, or how much hate there was for Californians in the region. And, you know, that's kind of something that people complain about in different areas where like large populations of Californians kind of flock to. Portland is one. Obviously, Austin, Texas, or like Texas has become another area where a lot of Californians have relocated. But, you know, most of the Californians that I've interacted with, I don't have the same mentality, obviously. Most of them I've interacted with have been like coworkers, you know, so they're just normal working class people who really couldn't afford to stay in the places that they were raised, unfortunately. And yeah, there are definitely some bougie Californians, if you want to say, that kind of come here and take advantage of the cheaper prices and that they can get more for their buck. And people feel like that drives the property costs up and all of that. And it's just, you know, it is the way it is. It is the way it is. If you create a place that is desirable to live, people will move here. But yeah, there were people from a lot of different regions, and a lot of most of my coworkers were like native Portlanders or native to the area. Like some of them were from like the Dalles or like Hood River area, but a good portion of them were Portlanders. And definitely, yeah, my favorite boss I had was at that company, well, at working with coffee people, and she ended up actually hiring me at another company years later. So yeah, when I left coffee people, I ended up going to work for Tivana, which sucked. I don't know what I was thinking. I was young, and I like went to work out in like another city at the mall out there, you know, and I was using public transport to get there. Like, I don't know what I was thinking. Now it's like I could never put myself like in that kind of position. But when you're young, and you know, this was before I had any health issues crop up, like I had the energy for it. So I ended up working at a Tivana out like in this other town, and it was a mixed bag. There were things about that job I liked. I loved the products. I loved the tea. I loved the education I got about tea working there. Loved the discounts. So I got a lot of cool stuff working there, and definitely had a cool boss. Although the day I was hired, the lady that hired me got fired. Not, I don't know if it's the day I was hired, but like my first day starting. Yeah, she that was weird. And I have to say, like the company itself, we had this district manager that would come from time to time to like kind of train us. Like, so I met him that day, like my first day, he was in town. He fires her, and then yeah, like he would come periodically, and every time he came, like the store would just go into chaos because the way they wanted to us to run it was like totally incongruent with how would please how you would run a business to please the customers, because we had such like a high volume of customers coming in every weekend to get their regular stock, and then we had people in the mall working who wanted to like get actual beverages, and so it was a total mess every single time he came in, and he like insisted we do it in this way. So we like ended up like just losing a ton of money, and then after he left, like we just go back to doing things the way it was before. But yeah, so I did that for a while, actually, before I ended up getting the call from my old boss to be like, oh, I've got my own store now, let me hire you, I want you here. And so that was that. Interesting story to go down. Yeah. Good old coffee people days. So yeah, that was my favorite job that I had, was the barista job at the airport. I loved it because I also got to I had to go through security every day, but I got to like kind of cut to the front of the line, and I became like really proficient at very quickly getting through security, because I just was like, you know, ready to go, and like throwing everything in there quickly. It was fun. It was fun. And the Portland airport is fun. Like anybody who's like been through it knows it's even now like they've been doing a lot of renovations on it, but it's one of the more fun airports, I'd say, just to be in. Obviously, the design of it is iconic, like the carpet and whatnot. But they have a lot of interesting things to do and see, and good food to eat, and yeah, I had a good time working there. I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was nice. S.A. Brady says, efficient and getting through security, good for my KGB application. Well, you know, I'm no longer efficient at getting through security. Although the last time I flew, I had a pretty all right time. And now I don't have to go through the horrible like X-ray machine anymore. I just, go through. They have this like little. I have to like wheel in, go through a different little a side door, and then they basically have to like pat me down and like test run their little drugs things over my device to see if I'm possibly smuggling drugs or something. So yeah, they but for years it's been like before that when I was still like walking, I just would never be able to get through the like x-ray machine all right. Like it would always come up kind of odd because I could never get myself into that position physically. So I'd always get patted down anyway. So it's nice now that I can just kind of wheel through and I don't have to go through the rigmarole of, getting x-rayed and then patted down. I really didn't like. Is that what it is? It's like, is it an x-ray machine? I don't know exactly what it is. Y'all know what I mean. Like that thing where you have to go like this. It's just pain. Camaraderie with coworkers can really get you through. Yeah, I think that's important. Like everywhere I've worked, I've tried to have okay relationships with the people I work with. And some people are easier to work with than others. I've worked with some cool people over the years, I really have. And I keep in touch with some of them, not all, but, the ones that were special to me in some way or that I actually connected with. I'm happy I enjoy keeping up with them, and some of them have become friends, some of them actually are friends. Go figure. Funny how that works. I mean, my current job I have now, I was recommended by an old coworker. She referred me. So there you go. It's good to keep in contact with some people, You never know. And I guess this job that I have now, it's just, I love certain aspects of it, but it's difficult, it's kind of, it's a difficult job, like on me mentally and emotionally sometimes. Like the last person I talked to, on Monday, like I made a call to someone, like just returning their call, and I hadn't been able to speak to her yet. We'd been like playing phone tag. So, you know, I contacted her and she was very sweet and pleasant and just like nice to me. But most of the time people aren't. But yeah, she was crying, you know, so I just kind of like had to assure her, that kind of thing. So it can be emotionally, you know, taxing. And then sometimes people are just downright like hostile and nasty and you can't do anything for them. So oh, bye. Bye. Have a good night, essay. You've been felt up. Yeah, it's not nice. I just, now I know I have to, it's something I have to go through while flying. There's no, I will get felt up. That's it. It's going to happen. Yeah, where am I going next with this piece? I'm like wondering what's next. What am I going to do next? I've got all this going on here. Well, I think I might do something like this. Yeah. Okay. So, oh, there was something I was going to say. Something I was going off on. Huh. Don't you hate when that happens? Don't you just hate that? Yeah, good times. I wonder where P Rat is now. I wonder how she's doing. Probably not good. But I don't know, maybe she's gotten herself together. She was just so, I mean, like, I don't know, like, how do you steal from your coworkers like that? Like, ugh. How do you steal from like a middle-aged woman that's like working food service? Like who raised you? Hopefully she does not have pea brats. I mean, I don't know. She stayed with her husband, but like when I saw her like the next time, like a couple of years later, like I mentioned, she I don't know. I mean, you can't tell just by looking at someone, but she didn't seem to have the countenance of someone who had kids. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Who can say? I just find it interesting, like, you know, people who get married. It's interesting to me, like, I always wonder, like, how did this person find someone to marry them and I haven't? You know what I mean? But then it's like, well, neither of them are anyone I would want to be married to, but I still feel kind of like sad or envious that they've like got like that kind of relationship. But it's best not to, I don't know, it's a funny feeling, I guess. Most of the time I'm not like hard, I don't feel hard about being single, but sometimes you're like, I'm like, man, I got it going on, you know, like I'm a good work, like I'm responsible. I've got decent credit. Like I know my health isn't great, but like I think I'm good looking, you know, I'm decent looking. Like I have some skills, like I have things to offer someone. Like I'm not, you know, I just think about it and like, but like then I look around, I'm like, that person is married, that person is married. Why? Like, why were they marriage minded? But like, I keep finding these people that are just like, I don't know, like, I don't seem to find people that are on the same, like, minds of the same mindset, you know, that, or at the same level, you know, or maybe above. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it. It's hard not to be like confused about like because of P Rat, she was just so like so vile. Like her energy was so like vile. And like at that age too, like I was not the nicest person, the best person, but like my energy was still good. You know what I mean? Like I still had that positive, upbeat energy. I still was like an ethical person to a certain regard. So yeah, like reflecting on Miss P Rat. Miss P Rat. Like it's just it makes me wonder. Yeah, sometimes I'm like, why did she? Yeah, like what were her virtues that somebody thought like that's my wife? You know, not that he was somebody worth marrying though either, because like who does that to their wife? Like who screws their wife's friend and like runs off on their wife on Valentine's Day? Like but then I'm like, well, she's a low value person, so whoever she's married to would be a low value person too, and that's the kind of person who behaves in such a disgusting, disrespectful way. So I don't know. But sometimes I get kind of like, I don't know. I just wonder. Like, I wonder, I'm like, why am I still single when, but then it's like, well, what's out there? And, you know, I don't want to like compare myself to married people because I know a lot of them are like no better off, you know. They have that security in their life, but I guess of like what marriage is, or I don't know. I guess this is something that I guess it's because it's just something that I've like wanted for a long time, like that kind of stable and like just committed relationship. But anyway, we shall see what happens. We shall see. M asks, why was she called P Rat? Okay. It was off of her name, her last name. It's part of her last name. So we just shortened her last name to P Rat. I love rats, and that was the time that I had Thurston, who was my most beloved rat. He was my first rat. I looked into those beady little eyes, fell in love. Like he was well trained. I had him trained to like go out with me. He was the only rat I ever really trained to do that with, actually. Like he was the only one that was so bonded to me that he didn't mind like going out with me, and I took him all over. Like I took him all over the place. Like he would be in like my shirt most of the time. He'd just like lay here on my chest in my shirt and I'd go out with him, or like in my jacket, you know, and then he'd come out periodically. in retrospect, it probably wasn't a good idea to take him all over town like that. But he would let me know when he really had to go to the bathroom. Although with like rats, they can't really hold their urine. So, but I didn't care, y'all. I'm wondering why I was single when I had like rat pee on me. Like, why was I single when I had a rat on me, peeing sometimes. But like if he had to, he would usually let me know first. He would give me a little squeak and then like get let down so he could like release. There were only a few times that he like, wasn't. There were a couple times where he peed and it was like a lot. And it was like, oh dang. Hey baby, I'm talking about Thurston. You didn't know Thurston. It was before your time. So yeah, but another funny thing, okay, so like I worked at the airport, Coffee People, but in my neighborhood at the time, like I think how many blocks would it be? It would be like 5 blocks away. There was a Coffee People, like a drive-through one. And I would go there like on my days off sometimes, and I'd bring Thurston with me. And I'd usually get like a croissant and like a fabulous coffee cooler was usually my drink. Sometimes I might get like a mocha or something if it was cold. So yeah, I'd be out there like sitting on the little tables they had outside. Just chatting with Thurston, I'd be like, oh, you're such a good boy. You're such a good boy. Such a good boy. And I'd like rip off little pieces of like croissant to give to him. And he'd like, and I'd watch him. I was in love with this little rat. Like it was my first rat I'd ever had. He was so cool. And it was like such a fun, like it was such a magical time in my life, that age. And all the kind of things I went through at that time. Like, so I was just very bonded to him. I was, but anyway, the last day they were open, like I went to visit them because like, it was sad all these businesses were closing, like, and, as part of the Coffee People family, I wanted to go there their last day, and give them some business and say bye. So I was sitting outside with Thurston, feeding him, and like one of the people that worked there came out and was like having their break outside, and he noticed like that I had Thurston with me, and he's like, oh, you have a rat. And I was like, yeah, he comes with me most of the time. And he was like, me and my coworkers thought you were out here all this time talking to yourself for months. Like they thought I was out there just like chatting to myself. They thought I was a crazy lady that happened to work for Coffee People too. Like they thought I was just sitting out there kind of chatting to myself, chatting to no one. But I was like, no, he usually comes with me and I feed him. Like I'm chatting with him. I was like kind of embarrassed. Like it was embarrassing. I was like, these people for months have thought I was crazy. They've been in there talking about me like, oh, here she is, a crazy lady that sits there and talks to herself. So yeah, I would usually like, sit there, eat my croissant with him and, drink about half of my drink, and then we'd like go about our merry little way. But yeah. No, I was talking to my Thurston. I was talking to my third man, my third baby. He didn't live very long. It was very sad for me when he died. We had a procession for him, and I threw him off the St. John's Bridge, actually. Like, I wrapped him up in like this square I had knitted and had some things with him. And like my friend Kaylee came over, and like we went up to the bridge and threw him off. when he died. So that was sad for me because he was my sweet little rat. He was my sweet little rat, and he's the one who taught me about rats and how cool they were. You had a roommate years ago who had a rat named Ella. Yeah, I love them. They're sweet. Is he named after Thurston Moore? Yes, he is. I mean, I'm not like a big fan of Sonic Youth. I do like a couple other albums or Thurston Moore, but I was trying to think of like a cool name for him, and I don't know. He was in the inspiration, and sometimes I would call him Thurston Less. So like Thurston Moore, Thurston Less, because he's small, you know? So yeah, that was the inspiration for his name. But like, don't put too much on it. I'm like not that big of a fan. All right. And I wasn't at the time either, but I did have a couple other albums. So I think I was just kind of like at the time trying to come up with something that was good. And I probably saw like one of my like CDs and went with that, you know. But I think it fit him. It was a good name. Because you don't like hear of, I can't think of any other Thurstons, you know. I don't know of any other Thurstons. You know, there's Thurston Moore, and then there's the rat I had named Thurston. But I don't know of any other guys named Thurston. It's a good name. It probably should be more popular than it is. It's, you know. What you talking about? You ain't going outside. Nero, who are you named after? My love? We all know who he named after. Madam sent my baby kitty Kim is named after Kim Gordon. Hey. Yes. Well, Kim Gordon's cool, you know. She's a cool woman. And they were a pretty cool couple. Like, it was sad when they broke up, actually. Like, it seemed like they were kind of, you know, they were just iconic, and the way they broke up was kind of like, really? But then, yeah, I read an interview with her talking about it like a couple of years later after they divorced, and she was like, well, we were such a traditional couple. It's, you know, when our relationship ended, it was in a very traditional way. You know, she had this kind of attitude about it that I thought was insightful. She's cool though. Like, Kim Gordon is very cool. But he was a boy. Thurston was a boy. He had to get named after a boy. Hey baby. But yeah, I'm not that big of a Sonic Youth fan. You want up here? Do you want my lap or no? You look like you want my lap. What are you doing? Yeah, you baby. You baby. You are a baby. What you doing? You want some of this lap? You ain't getting no lap. M says, I love them, but the breakup and Kim's facelift saddened me. Kim had a facelift? I didn't know that. Really? So here we are. We're not supposed to be talking about celebrity plastic surgery, should we? Because we already were badgering P-Rat about it with her tabloid magazine. Ugh, trashy. I mean, I don't know. Like, a lot of them have facelifts. You know, why shouldn't she have a facelift? Madonna's had 3. Why can't Kim have one? Hi, baby. What you doing? Don't be showing your butt on camera. I don't want your butt on camera. No, don't put your butt on camera. Don't be getting up here with your butt. Stop, you bad boy. You bad boy. You're not supposed to. You're not supposed to. You're not supposed to. Don't put your butt in the camera. Don't put your butt on camera. This is not that kind of page. Oh, Ron stopped by. Hi, Ron. Thank you. I thought I looked nice today. This outfit is fire. All right. I looked good when I went out today. I was slaying. Oh, look at you. What you doing? What you doing? What you doing? M says, I'm P-Rat, surprise. Well, P-Rat didn't know we called her P-Rat because we did it behind her back. All right. No. Put that butt down. P-Rat did not know that she was called P-Rat. We disliked her that much. Who's a good kitty? Amy said, well, but yeah, I think, yeah, Kim Gordon is entitled to a facelift, you know. I understand that, like, we don't want these, you know, feminist icons to get facelifts, you know. I understand. But I mean, she's probably going through it too. Like you said, the breakup and Kim's facelift saddened me. I mean, how do you think she was feeling? You gotta have some grace for her, you know. Yes, I love you. Why you blocking my art? Mama wants to do her art. She don't want the kitty bugging her like this. You're not gonna get another can of wet food. What you think? You think this is gonna make another can of wet food appear in your dish, sir? Is that what you think? Because that's not what's gonna happen. Do you think that's gonna happen? That's not gonna happen. That's not what gonna, oh, you are so special. Look at you. Look at you. Oh, you love me. I love you back. You're so good kitty. Who's a good kitty? Do I have a good kitty? Do I have the best kitty in the whole world? Do I have the bestest kitty that ever was, that ever will be? Yeah, good kitty. No. I'm sorry, y'all. I gotta get him off here. He's gonna try and show you his butt. But this is not that kind of channel. Okay, I don't want you showing your butt on cam. Come on. No, come on. Come on. Down. Come on. Baby, you know you don't belong up here. There's no room for you. Come on. I love you. And not mean I don't love you. Amy says he is wonderful. He is. He's my little dude. He's a good little dude. He is an awesome little dude. Although he is willful and stubborn. And sometimes he's a little bit crazy. You know, yesterday I went into the bathroom. Like, I hadn't seen him in a while. And he was in the dryer taking a nap. Like, I had the door open because I had taken some stuff out of the dryer, but there were still some clothes in there. And he was laying on my clean clothes, napping. And I was like, what are you doing in there? He came out. I recorded part of it and put it on my Instagram story because I was like trying to get a picture of him. I mean, it started by me trying to get a picture of him in the dryer, but he started like coming out as soon as he got caught. Like, he was like, he knew he shouldn't have been in there though. He knew that. He knew he's not supposed to be napping in the dryer. He's just, you know how cats are. They're going to go where they're going to go. They're going to do what they're going to do. And they don't care what we think about it. Yeah, I wonder how Kim Gordon's doing. I haven't heard anything about her in a while.
Back to Kim Gordon. But yeah, I didn't know she had a facelift. I mean, I wonder, like, what's going to happen to this face? Like, I don't know. Today, yeah, I told somebody, like, somebody today had asked me, like, how long I'd had my condition, like, or how long I'd been suffering with, like, the condition I have. And I said, well, it started when I was 25, so it was like 12 years ago. And this other person did the math, like he was counting in his head. He's like, what, Terry? I didn't know you were that old. Which is, it's not old, but I was like, I'm not that old. But I think he meant that, like, he didn't realize I was, 37. So that was a funny little moment. I mean, what does it look like? It's one of those ages, you can be very youthful or not. It doesn't. I mean, I guess, yeah, there are some hard 37s out there. It's, I don't know. I do have people, like, sometimes be like that, but then I've also had people be like, guess and think, like, oh, are you in your 40s? And then I'm like, no. Don't guess older. You're not supposed to guess older. Ugh. Ugh. Like, I don't know. But that was a nice moment. I was like, oh, he thought I was younger. That's nice. It's nice. It's aging is, like, hard, as a woman. Like, I think obviously I'm still young, but it's gotten so, like, nasty in the culture too. Like, these, like, the internet kind of, like, manosphere has gotten, like, really appalling too. Like, just the kind of disrespect shown to women of, like, a certain age is just, like, wild. Like, it's, I don't know what it is. Like, what do you want me to do? Just, like, not age? Like, or do you want me to not, like, keep living? Like, I don't know, like, what the expectation is here with, like, these misogynists. I don't know what else to call them. Like, they're just, like, incredibly hateful, like, towards women of a certain age. And the reality is, like, or I don't know. I don't know. I feel way better, like, about the way I look and, like, who I am now than I did, most of my adult life. When I was very, like, when I think, like, 10 years ago, like, I look way better now than I did 10 years ago. I look way better than I did now than I did through most of my 20s. I mean, if I think, like, there was only, like, that brief period of time that I kind of talked about here earlier today between, like, 21 or 20 and 22, where I would say I looked better than I do now. Like, more conventionally attractive than I do now. So the rest of my 20s were a nightmare, for me physically, just, like, my appearance. It just wasn't good. So yeah, I kind of like that. Hearing that kind of stuff is always like, what are you talking about? I look better now than I did then. Like, women level up all the time. Like, youth isn't everything. You know what I mean? Like, it isn't even, like, beauty.
But it is disheartening, to hear that kind of stuff. And I wonder, like, you hear like people parrot it a lot, like these like very manosphere kind of talking points about, like, women's age and like how undesirable we are past a certain age. And it's not true, obviously, but it's also just like, you hear that and it's hard to not be like, God, like, are people believing this? Like, I know it's not true, but like, am I going to have to live in the world and deal with, like, I'm going to have to like live in the world and deal with the ramifications of like this culture of disrespect that's encouraged online, That's the thing about it too, I guess, that like really bugs me more than anything else. It's like, where are the role models? Like, there's such an absence of like positive role models for like men and women, and what we are kind of like, what rises to the top and like what becomes really popular is so, a lot of it is just like so disrespectful and predicated on like putting others down and like, false ideas about what success is and like how you should treat people, how you should act. And like, so many young people like have not been raised properly. Like, they don't have like a mom and a dad in the home, like teaching them right and wrong, like, teaching them about like roles and responsibilities. So, and that they're, on the internet looking for like how to live. And then they get just this like nonsense, about like relationships, how to deal with the opposite sex. Like, it's destructive. It's very destructive. And it's very curious to me because like I watched, I shared on this channel like a few streams back, like what's his name, Shumiki. His channel is called the Shumiki Way, or the Shoemake Way. I don't know exactly how it's pronounced, but he like responded to a Fresh and Fit podcast, and on it there was this like OnlyFans model who was questioning the men. So I guess the men that like do the show are profess to be a Muslim and a Christian, but they like, the advice they give is totally antithetical to God's word and God's plan for how you are to behave, And like, so she asked them like, she's an atheist herself, but she's like, how do you reconcile like the do you have any cognitive dissonance about the advice you're giving young men with like what the word of God says, what your religion says? And I guess she had a Muslim background, like her background was Muslim, her family were Muslim, and like the other guy on the so like, it was fascinating, honestly, to watch these guys kind of like, because there is no judge. Like, you can't profess to be like, at least, I don't know about the Muslim faith. I do know that they don't believe in fornication or sex outside of marriage. Like, these guys are encouraging young men to do, like, just to go out and behave in like ways that are sexually undisciplined, I feel like. But I know what is expected in Christianity, and like sexual immorality, fornication, sex outside of marriage. Men, it is expected both of men and of women that you are to not engage in that, right? So it's an expectation. Sexual immorality is something that you're supposed to like not engage in. This guy's on there, like wearing an effing cross around his neck, giving justifications for why. Oh yeah. Well, I have to give advice to men living in 2023, like dealing with the way women are. Like, I was like, well, not all women. Like, hello. First off, men are supposed to be like the leaders. Okay, so if you're encouraging men to behave in ways, behave like that, what kind of women is it going to create? Okay, you're just perpetuating the cycle. If men like became leaders and disciplined themselves sexually, like women would follow, the behavior would follow. Like there's, and vice versa as well. Like if women didn't give it up so easy, again. But still, it was interesting. So yeah, like they gave those like BS kind of like responses that like, oh well, that's not, as if it weren't relevant, as if like that isn't relevant today, which this advice is this advice is solid to yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Like, don't behave this way, because it doesn't lead to anything positive. Like, if you're a man and you sleep with a lot of women, there's going to be problems that arise from it. If you're a woman that sleeps with a lot of men, there's going to be problems that arise from it. Like, and then they encourage men to like go out and fornicate with a lot of women. And then they, on the flip side, tell men when they're finally ready to get married to look for a woman who does not have a high body count. So you're going to go out in the world, be of the world, and like behave like the world wants you to behave, and then turn around and try to find a woman who is not of the world. And it was just very clear to me. I was like, like it gave me pause anyway, because it's like these people like these men are looked to as like some kind of role model, like, and young men are seeking them to like get advice about how to live. And you profess to be a Christian, you're giving advice, or a Muslim, and you're giving advice that is leading people down a path of sin and self-destruction when you know better. Like, that's evil. Like, you're worse. Like, I can't remember the verse right now, but like, that's a worse. If you know better, if you know God's right way and you direct people to act the wrong way, like, hello, what's wrong with you? But yeah, it just, and then of course they went on to like, she got them, like this woman, like atheist OnlyFans model, but she was like, how do you reconcile like the advice you give with what it says in God's word, right? About sexual morality. And yeah, they couldn't answer it, not in any way that like made any sense. So then of course they just went on to denigrate her, obviously. Okay. Em was Googling about Kim Gordon. She was diagnosed with stage 3 triple negative breast cancer. Oh, honey, that sucks. Oh, Kim, I didn't know. I didn't know she was going through that. That's too bad. That sucks, man. Yeah, we're talking about Kim Gordon. Welcome back, Seth. That sucks. I didn't know. I didn't know she's going through that. That's the thing about her too. Like, I mean, I don't keep up with a lot of this stuff, so maybe it was reported in different places. I mean, obviously, if you're able to get that information, but just, I think she kind of keeps things private too. But that makes me sad. I don't want her to suffer like that. I know someone this year who's been like, he had pancreatic cancer years ago, and like it was treated and it went away, but then it sprang back up this past year, and he had to have like all of his pancreas removed, his spleen removed, and then like last week they actually took out some of his lung. And I'm just like, I've been so like just here, I found out they had to like take out part of his lung. I was just like, man, like that sucks. Like I was just like, when are they going to stop cutting into him? Like just stop. I mean, he's still alive. He's recovering from that recent surgery, but God, I just want him to like, I don't want them to like cut into him anymore. It's like upsetting. Like, oh. Yeah, it is brutal. It's terrible. I mean, cancer is terrible, period. Ugh. It ain't right. Why our bodies do these things? It's not right. He's been suffering a lot. Like it's stressful to see somebody like suffer that much, like, and not be able to do anything for them but pray. It is so scary. Man, this chat has been pretty. This stuff. When I got to go off about PRAT, that was fun. But yeah, we've had some like rough topics tonight. I have to say, sorry, chat. It is what it is. But. So yeah, I know in one of my recent lives, somebody was asking me about Fresh and Fit. So yeah, that was my first exposure. Idiots, I have to say, and like also like hypocrites of the worst kind, and definitely like have no business. Speaking as an authority on anything. It just upsets me to know that like there are young men being influenced by this kind of content and being like led down a path of immoral behavior and like self-destructive behavior as well. You know what I mean? Like this kind of behavior is not like I don't think we talk enough in this culture about how like self-destructive it is to be like promiscuous in that way. Like, definitely isn't fun to talk about. People don't want to hear it, but like it for men and women, you know, there's all this nonsense and like men don't benefit from that, you know, in the long run. That kind of behavior and treatment of their own vessel, like it runs like serious risks and will bite you in the butt. So it's just amazing to me, like, that they're like, oh, well, I know the right way, but I know God's way, but I'm going to tell you to do something different. I'm going to tell you to do something different because it's 2023. And apparently, like, the year somehow makes it different. And it's just kind of funny to me, too, because, like, there's so many, like, godly women, you know, out there, you know, that have trouble finding a man. And like, if you go to like most churches, there's a plethora of women and not many men. So it's like, but you're gonna, like, as a Christian, encourage young men to, like, what, go find a woman at the club? And then, like, I guess when you finally get that out of your system, you know, I don't know. You have to be like, you also have to like be at the same level as like your eventual spouse. It's not going to work if your wife is like pure and you're like a I don't know. I don't want to use any like words, like, and I believe that people can change and like learn and grow and become better, obviously, and overcome like their faults of their, you know, behaviors. But to me, it's just like, it doesn't work well. Like, you need to be like equally yoked. If you've been out running the streets and like your partner has been like a good godly person their whole life, like, you know, doing things the right way their whole life, like, what kind of problems are you going to bring to this person? You know, you wonder about that. Like, I don't know, like, how are you going to, especially like if you're the man, like, how are you going to lead her in the right way when you don't know the right way? It's a mess out here. A lot of people giving bad advice and like disrespect, teaching people to disrespect. Is having a partner who is also a believer important to you at this point? Definitely. Yeah, very important. Not just important, like necessity. It's a necessity. I would not consider someone who wasn't. That would disqualify them. Like, you know, I've done things my own way. Like, again, I'm saying this, you know, I've done things my own way most of my life, or in most of my adult life anyway. And it's led me nowhere but the wrong way. It's led me to nothing good. Like, I want to do things God's way. That's important to me. And so I want to find someone who is also like similarly minded, or, you know, it would only work to find somebody similarly minded. I want somebody who's like on that same path and like thinking that same way, like, you know, that it's necessary to do things in a proper way, in proper order. And like, I also, you know, just in terms of like my role and like what I want to like give and do for someone, like I could not do if they weren't. I did that like live stream a while back about submission, and how I don't think it's a bad thing, how submission is a good thing in the context of like a marriage. If I get married, I want somebody who I feel comfortable submitting to. I want somebody who I feel comfortable, who I trust, to submit myself to. And so I could not do that with someone who was not a believer. The only person that the only person that I could do that with, it has to be somebody who's, also submitted to God first. You know what I mean? That to me is essential. Like, otherwise it just doesn't work. You can't submit yourself to someone who isn't submitted to God. So yeah, that's important to me. Like, you're not supposed to, you can't yoke yourself to somebody, like, as it said, to an unbeliever. It's just going, what good is it gonna do? I'm going down one path, they're going down another. I'm trying to like walk the straight and narrow, or roll the straight and narrow, and like, what are they doing? Where are they going? Like, we're going in different directions. So like that's a conflict. I know there is J date app. Would you consider a Christian app? I would never go on an app. I would not consider a dating app. Y'all, come on, look at me. This don't belong on an app. I'm not the kind of woman you can get on an app. If that means I'd get less dates, if that means I meet less, like whatever. I go out, I have a very, I work on, I go out and meet people. I'm working on expanding my network, making, I'm not going on an app. I'm not an app. I don't like, to me, I've never been on an app, like a dating app, but to me, it's completely antithetical to how I feel. How I feel one should be looking for a partner. I don't think it's the right way. I think, again, I talked about doing things our way versus God's way. Like, if you're living in the real world and you're doing things, you're going to meet people. And I think like the kind of people that go on apps are not like, actually, the app is like a crutch instead of like, I don't know. And I know people meet people on these things, but I don't want to be met on an app. I'm not something that you can just pull up and like click a button and get. Okay. I'm not like that. And I also don't want to put myself out there like that. That's the other thing too. Like, I feel like being a woman on a dating app reeks of desperation. I'll just say that. Like, it reeks of desperation. I'm not that desperate. Okay, if I hit desperate, maybe I'll consider it, but I'm not. Like, you know, I obviously, like, earlier in the stream, I did talk about, like, I would like to find someone. Yes, but that's not, I don't consider that like an option. I just don't consider that an option. I want to meet someone through the course of my life. And I think that's the best way to do it. I think those relationships go better. I also, the other thing about it too is just there's so many reasons. I mean, I did a video earlier this year about my opinions about dating apps and that kind of thing, and like why I don't like them, why I don't use them. But like, I don't think it's safe, for one. That's another aspect of it. As a woman, especially, like, you are just meeting random people. I would rather meet people who are like in my network. I would rather meet people that other people I know. You know? I I would rather meet someone that like actually knows people I know, who can vet this person for me. If I meet somebody who isn't that way, like naturally through life, I come across them some other way, okay, that's fine. But I feel like I would like it to be, I would like I just would like that if possible. I feel like it's better for you to meet people in real life who know people who you meet naturally through the course of what you do with your life and your activity, so that you have things in common, that you have like a shared kind of community and vision. And I think sometimes you won't meet people. Roger that has mentioned Catholic match. I'm not Catholic, so that wouldn't work. It would not work for me, unfortunately. I don't know if I want to marry a Catholic. I mean, I might marry a Catholic, but I wouldn't go on like a Catholic site, and I wouldn't go on a site. Period. You got to meet me IRL. Sorry. Sorry, I'm that kind of girl. You gotta meet me in person, or meet me like through some like shared common interest. I have no idea what it's like on an app. I mean, it's just like shopping. That to me, it's like no different than going like on Amazon, and like you see it with the like, you're not special when you're on an app. They can't see who you are. They can't feel your energy. On an app, like, I just don't feel like I come across, all of this cannot be conveyed with an app. What I am, what I have going on, who I am, how I feel, how I might, what's attractive about me. Even I do have a pretty face and such, but like, I don't want to be, I don't think that's what's most attractive about me anyway. So like, it just, the whole thing about apps, it puts me off. I don't know. It just, to me, doesn't feel like the right way to do things. And again, I think it kind of reeks of desperation for a woman to go on an app. Like, I don't need I get why men are on apps. I get it. But I don't see why a woman should go on an app. Like, I just don't. Like, I need to get a date that bad. Like, I don't. It's not not gonna happen. Amy said they did not have apps when I was single. They did have matchmakers, though. You know, one of my friends did go. I saw a matchmaker recently. Got signed up with that, but she's still single, so I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where it leads, if it gets her any connections. The great red spot is being mean, says, let me judge, stand up and do a twirl. I cannot. So, yeah. Again, like, that's the other thing about like a dating app. Like, a lot of people would be attracted to me in person that would not if they just saw me on an app. So, like, they see you're disabled in person, or like they see you're disabled on an app, and then they're going to have like whatever preconceived notion. But then they meet me in person. I got all this going on, all that zhuzh. And then, you know, also like they find out things about me, you know, how I live my life, what I do, like with myself. Because I mean, it's like, for me, even I be open to dating another disabled person, but they have to like live similarly to me because I want a similar lifestyle, you know? Because I have had like that happen with people who are disabled who, you know, they're they don't work, they don't, you know, have similar like life values, that kind of thing. That kind of thing is important to me. Like, having a certain standard and quality of life is important to me. So I wouldn't, obviously, like, they would have to be, you know, of a similar level, you know, as me in terms of what they do and you know, that kind of thing. They'd have to have a career of some kind. But I think a lot of people see like a visibly disabled person and they'll automatically assume like certain things, like you don't work or you don't like do this, that, or the other. Like, it's better to meet someone in person and go from there. Try to make a connection that way. You're not getting another can of cat food, so just stop it. But yeah, dating apps are not for me. I'm not the kind of woman you can get on an app, okay? I'm the kind of woman that you have to be able to like go up and speak to. You know what I mean? Like, I'm the kind of woman that you actually have to like, I don't know, make some kind of effort with. I'm not going to put myself on some kind of platter so that random men who I don't even know who they are, what they have going on. I also have to assume if they're on a dating app, that means that they have too much time on their hands, you know, and that they're like, don't have a network themselves. So they're not the kind of like person I'm looking for. You know what I mean? Like, maybe this isn't the case with everyone on that dating app, but for me, it just doesn't feel organic. Like it doesn't feel right. The Great Red Spot says, you do have a pretty face. I would hang it up on my wall. I'm not a weirdo. Well, you may not be a weirdo, but I am strange. So Amy understands now. I mean, I could go off about this for a long time, so I'll just getting that last little bit of like lemonade here, like the sour, like lemony bits in my throat. And Seth says Terri is pretty. Thank you all. Thanks. Yeah. But I'm more than a pretty face. I'm also a lot of fun. You know, I can't, but that doesn't come across. Like who I am just doesn't come across on an app. The Great Red Spot said it's time to date women. Well, you go date women. All right. Good luck. Good luck out there. Yeah, it just doesn't appeal to me. Like the whole idea of it just is unappealing to me. Years ago, I went on like one of those websites they had. I don't remember what was it. You are not getting another can of cat food. You are not going outside. Period. What was the website? I can't remember. It was like some free dating site. I went on there. I had a profile. Went on a couple dates. I did not like anyone that I met. I felt like they didn't even like really read my profile. You know what I mean? No, you're not getting another can of cat food. You're right. I'll get up, but I want to work on my drawing more. I'm in the zone. Well, you not care for me. You not care for me being in the zone. Yeah, I felt like, you know, and then I'd be like sitting across these people. I'm like, I said clearly in the very small paragraph I wrote, you know, what I'm about. And like, you clearly like didn't care to read it. You know, it's just, yeah, I found that like totally alienating. And I just was like, yeah, this isn't for me. So now like with the rise of apps, I don't see it as being any different. It's like the kind of people I met just were like not the quality of people I'd like to meet. I'd rather just continue to like live and meet people in the real world, you know? Or like, you know, through my interests, through my hobbies, through my activities that I do naturally. Yeah, it's just not any good. Did that touch a nerve? I'm really sorry. I will leave now. Okay, like you didn't touch any nerves. Like what? You are not going outside. Stop asking. Get over. Yeah, you come back here because you know you're not supposed to do that. You know you're not supposed to do that. What are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you disrespectful? You know you're not going to get what you want. Yeah, it was an alienating experience overall. So I just felt like with the rise of the dating apps, like I just have never started one. I'm not interested. And like, even like dating people I've met online, like not on through an app, but like through social media has been kind of like not very good either. So it's just, I think it's much better to like meet people that are like in your community, meet people that, know people, like, again, it might mean you date less, but like the quality is more important than the quantity. And I'm interested in quality. Like, I want quality experiences. And like, I also want, to meet people that are compatible. And I don't like wasting my time, like, really. And that's what it feels like. It just feels like a big energy suck to sit there scrolling through people who, don't even think like me because they're on the app. It's not enough for me. I mean, I'm sure like a Christian dating app would have probably better quality people who are more aligned with my values. I don't know, but but what if I see people, what if somebody I know sees me on there? That's the other thing I'm like thinking about. Like, what if somebody I know sees me on there and then thinks she's desperate? I don't want anybody I know on like seeing me on such a thing. I just like no thank you. No thanks. That doesn't sound very nice. Nero, screening suitors is very important. We have talked about this before, meet the family, etc. Yeah. Yeah. And especially for women, like if you don't have like a male relative they can meet, like have them talk to a male friend, have them talk to like a pastor of yours, maybe, like if you're in a church, like have a man talk to another man, like at least, because they're going to be able to see through like a man better than you are. You know what I mean? It's just, they're going to be able to like more clearly judge a man's intentions with you than you are. And also, if you like have men in your life that look out for you and care about you, a man is less likely to pull stuff on you, I think, as well. Like that's another aspect of it. Like it sets you up as being a woman that is of value and valued. So it's just a good idea. It's just a good idea. And I don't like integrating myself into friend groups that aren't my own. Yeah. Amy, in response to my like seeing what if somebody I know sees me on there? They are on there too. Yeah. Well, that's fine if they're on there, but it's not fine for me to be on there. Like I don't care if they're like hard up or desperate, but I'm not having somebody like, no, I'm not having somebody I know like see me and like think, oh, she's available. Like, like, yeah. No, I'm not comfortable with that. I don't know what else to say. Like maybe it's kind of, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. Maybe it's a little bit like It's not like, to me, it just gives off the wrong energy. Like, I like to be a little intimidating. I don't want to be that approachable or available. That's the other thing too. Like, and I think that's what an app does. It makes you, I think it like makes you more approachable and available. And like, I don't want anybody to just come to me. I expect somebody to make an effort. You know what I mean? Like, if they can't do that, then I'm not interested, and I put myself out there in that way. I think it just like changes the energy into something I don't want. Like, I want to be chased. Okay. I want to be pursued. I'm the one. I want to be pursued. And putting yourself out there in that way, I think kind of like messes with that energy a bit, like puts you on a more even playing field. That's not the dynamic I want in a relationship. Like, and I'm willing to forego like dating more if it means I get that type of interaction that I'm looking for, So this is how I feel about it. Darling, you are desperate. Are not desperate. That is the wrong word. No, I'm not desperate. That's the thing too. Like, I'm not. I'm okay. Like, I'm enjoying my life as it is now. I'm enjoying doing the things I'm doing. And if I meet somebody through the things I'm doing, awesome. Awesome. I'd be very happy. But I'm not like needing it like that bad, I guess. Yes, he's clinking his bowl. He does that when he wants I've told you about like the feeding issues that we're having. Like, I've had to like feed him less and he's not happy about it. And even today, like, I adjusted the feeding hours. So he's, was fed a bit later, but still he clinks his bowl to kind of like, he's been told he's not going to get another can of wet food. I cannot have him getting too fat. All right. I want to give him another can, but he's going to get fat. I love him too much to make him fat. I'm going to keep him spelt. He want a third can. He's not going to get a third can. That's too many cans of wet food. He does not need that many. He likes having that many. I never should have gotten to the habit of it because now he expects it. But yeah, and now late at night, he clinks his bowl. I'll get in bed and he'll just like go and clink his bowl, at me. Amy, that's what I'm doing, Amy. I'm just trusting God and following his rules. And, if someone is meant for me, they're going to come, and I just got to keep doing what I'm doing and keep going, I trust. I trust. I believe, that it's possible that I will meet someone. And I'm pretty happy otherwise, I do kind of, I do sometimes kind of get like sad, or I don't know if sad's the right word, but kind of like, I don't know, wistful, wondering like, well, why don't I have someone, I see all these like people and they're they're married, and it's like, why did I, why hasn't that happened for me? I wonder, like, but then I also realize I've been crazy. I've been off the rails crazy. So, like, whoever I would have found would have not been good for me at all. So, like, I also have to, like, look in kind of retrospect, like, anybody who would have came to me as I was in the past, like, would not have been good for me. And they weren't, the people that did come to me in those times, like, I did have, people romantically interested in me, and they were awful. They I don't know what to say, like, just awful. Not anybody that, would make me happy or be good to me or good for me. Like, just no, it wasn't going to happen. So yeah, I have to have that, like, perspective as well. Like, the reality is, like, in the past, I was not somebody who would have been worth, I think, I don't want to say worth, because it's not like, I mean, I have, like, love for myself. I definitely was worth that, but, like, anybody who would have, like, gotten with me at that time, like, and the trajectory I was on, it just wouldn't have been good because it wasn't sustainable anyway. Like, even though the person I was at this time was, like, better than a lot of what's out there, in terms of, like, people and folk, but, like, for me, it wouldn't have been good. It wouldn't have been sustainable. It wouldn't have been what would serve me or serve them, because it was always going to crash eventually. Like, it was always going to, like, run out of steam, that kind of life, that kind of trajectory. It, like, couldn't continue. It was too much. So, I have to, like, look at that and kind of be honest too. Like, well, where were you at? I wasn't in any position, like, and I just got to keep working on me. That's the thing. Like, I just have to keep working on me every day, like, being me, doing me, and making the kind of life for myself that would, like, if somebody else were to come into it, like, be something that was healthy and sustainable and good. I think that's the other thing too, like, where I was at, like, it just wouldn't have worked anyway. So it's, like, no wonder. And you have to, like, think about that too with, like, relationships that don't work, or, like, negative people that come into your life. Like I said, I attract a lot of people that weren't good for me or to me. But, like, I was the thing that was attracting that. Like, I was a conduit for that. I was a magnet for that. No one else to blame but me, like, at the end of the day, because it was, like, that was what and where I was at. Obviously, like, that doesn't excuse anyone else's behavior, but, like, at the same time, like, how could it have been different? It couldn't have. Like, if you're not right, like, nothing that's going to come into your life is going to be right. And like another person isn't going to save you from you. You can Another person cannot save you from yourself. If you can't, get yourself together, if you are like a lost mess, like, and I think a lot of people are looking for that in a relationship, like just looking for that one person that's going to like rescue them from all the stuff they're not doing or facing or dealing with. And like, it's a trap. If that does happen for you, like, be careful. But most people like aren't, even interested in that. Like, and I just, the parts of me that were like good and like decent and right, like, and there were many, the crazy aspects of me, like, just could not and would not integrate well with somebody who was wise, somebody who was like-minded and like-wise. So, in terms of like responsibility, in terms of like practicality, in terms of, living their life in an honorable way, like, what kind of person who is like that wants to add more crazy to their life? They've already got their bit to deal with, like, and it can be like a bit of a liability. Like, I have to like kind of sit and think, like, yeah, I'm kind of like miffed or wondering, but like, I'm now, because of like the work I've done on myself and like the transformations I've had and the growth I've had in my life, I'm in a far much better position than I was in the past. So I just have to be like grateful for that. And I believe in an abundant world and universe. There's more than enough to go around, and there's I do believe that there are plenty of fish in the sea. I don't have this like scarcity mindset that a lot of people operate under. And I think that's the other thing that I don't like about like the modern dating, like, advice culture, and like the app thing as well. I think, it kind of, it's discouraging, and it just, it's discouraging, and it kind of like reinforces a scarcity mindset. And like, if you have a scarcity mindset with dating, you're like gonna settle, you're gonna settle and not be happy, because you're just like, oh, this is the best I can get. It's not right. Speaking of settle, let's see. My big boy Peaches is 16 pounds. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, Nero doesn't get any kibble because he's got no teeth. I mean, he can eat it and he likes it, but no, we don't do that. Many women and men feel that way and they settle. Yeah, settling is not for me. Like, and I'm not saying like, I don't know. I mean, like, eventually you will settle. You'll pick someone and you'll settle on that. But like, I'm not. I want someone that I feel like more for than just like settling. Like, I want to feel like, yeah, I want to feel good about it. I want to feel like this is someone who, this is right. This is someone that is, it's going to be right, I guess, is the thing. Like, we're going to do good things together. We have good things to offer one another. We're going to serve and uplift one another. Like, that's how I want to feel. I don't want to feel like I'm settling, because that's settling. It's like it sounds stagnant, and I don't want to be stagnant with someone. I want somebody who's like, we're growing together, we're doing things together, we're us coming together, like, is actually going to have positive effects not only between us but in the world. Maybe that's a lot to ask for. I don't think it is, though, because I think, that's what happens when people come together in the right way. When a couple comes together in the right way and they do serve one another in the right way, and they positively influence one another, their lives, when their lives are positively influencing one another, it does have a ripple effect in their community. Like, they are able to do more, they show up better in the world, like they accomplish more, like more good is done. And that's, to me, what I want, what I'm looking for. Like, I'm not just looking for someone who's there, someone to keep me from being lonely, because I'm not lonely. That's not the thing. It's more like, I want that kind of dynamic where life is just made better, I guess, by like having that kind of relationship in it, like that helps facilitate more out of me, and like more from me, more out of me, and like out of them too, and like has a positive impact on others. Just I think that's how it should be for every couple. Like, otherwise I don't really see, it can't just be like company and like splitting a house or sharing. It's got to be more than that. Amy says, I was crazy, but I always tuned in. We are all crazy, and that is why we need guidance. That is true. All right, it's past my bedtime. I got to go. I got to get out of this get up that I've been in. I got to get my face, got to clean my face, got to brush my teeth, whatnot. I got to get ready for bed. Should have done it a while ago. So thank you all for being here. It was fun chatting today and drawing with you on. I don't usually do that or have it on, but it was nice to work on my art while you're watching. And it was a good chat today. Went in a lot of places, but it was fun. So anyway, I hope you all take care and have a good night. And I'll be back another time. And happy Thanksgiving to those celebrating in the USA. I don't know if anybody out of the USA is watching, but happy Thanksgiving to those in the USA. It's going to be a blast. It's a great holiday. We have much to be thankful for. So, all right. Bye, y'all. And good night, Amy. Saying good night to me. So thank you. All right. Good enough. Here. End stream. Bye-bye.